Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of the Ground for Glory podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Malika Janice, aka Wavy Lay, and I'm excited to be here for another episode. We just vibing this week, to be honest. So, hi. So before I get started, of course, I have to tell y'all the sip of the day. And this is the first time I'm coming to the pod with a non-coffee drink. So this should be interesting. I am recording the pod actually Saturday night. Y'all clap for your girl. At almost 10 p.m. So we are winding down with a cup of hot herbal tea. I'm doing some raspberry leaf tea for the girlies. If you know, you know. And then I've got some well-rested Trader Joe's herbal tea. It's got like chamomile, spearmint, stuff like that. And so yeah, we're enjoying a hot cup of herbal tea in my Ground for Glory podcast mug. Shout out to my mama for making that for me. So hopefully I'll tease some pics of it. I am testing out some different things for some future merch. Okay. So, yeah, it's super cutesy. So I got my little Ground for Glory podcast sticker on my laptop and then my cup. And I'm just, yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving the vibes. My screen background is green as well. So it's giving me all of the podcast vibes right now. Speaking of the podcast, I am actually really missing the video format. Not gonna lie. So I'm kind of torn. I'm going back and forth between wanting to keep this a very like audio only type of situation, because I love the purity in that. I feel like podcasts started off, I mean, that's really what podcasts were. It's just strictly audio. There was no video option. So I really love the authenticity of that. I love how literal it is. Like podcasting to me is just, you put something on, you listen to it, whatever. So I'm kind of toying back and forth with the idea of like going back to video, because video is such a cool component. And I think that it really captures a different audience that audio only podcasts don't. So I don't know. Help your girl out. Let me know in the comments how we're feeling about not having a video option as of lately. I got a lot of thoughts going around in my mind. I've been thinking of things when it comes to creativity, been thinking a lot about stewardship, been thinking a lot about discipleship. But I think today I'm going to go back to episode 5, my episode 5 notes. I actually ended up calling that episode something else. I think it was called Faith and Works, or You Need Faith and Works. But my original title for episode 5 was What I'm Learning About Stewardship. So I think I'm going to just kind of run it back to the episode 5 topic and really revisit some points that I don't think were brought up back then. So maybe this can be like a part 2 maybe of that episode. But yeah, I've really been just thinking a lot about the concept of stewardship and what it means to be a steward over what God has blessed me with personally. And just how that all works, like how God will entrust us with something as precious as children, or a husband, or a wife, or a marriage, or a business, or an organization. Like those are pretty big things that God puts into our lap and says go with. Like that's pretty cool, but it's also pretty huge. And so like I said, I was just kind of like going back through my notes, just thinking about what it means to be a steward. And it comes with so much responsibility. And I feel like we kind of like gloss over that word a lot. You know, being a steward or stewardship, that word has either been like made to be trendy, or we don't really think about it for what it truly is. But stewardship is a lot of responsibility. And although God so easily and graciously and mercifully as well puts these like important things in our lap, he also requires that much more out of us whenever he hands over things like that to us. So I think an interesting concept with stewardship is understanding that it's not ownership. Stewardship is simply, taking care of what God has entrusted you with. And so I think in that, recognizing that there's never going to be a time when we are completely in control, is such a weird juxtaposition, I guess. It's like he entrusts us to handle it, but he doesn't expect us to run it all and own it all on our own. And so we're always going to be in need of God when it comes to things that he's put in our lap, things that he's allowed us so graciously to take care of, whether that's his people or his time, his resources, his money. He's always going to show us that he is the boss at the end of the day, and that he is God. But he expects us to run things on a day-to-day basis with dominion and with authority in the earth. So yeah, it's such an interesting concept. This week, my husband and I have had the wonderful opportunity to visit some pastor friends of ours at their church, and they're doing a men's conference where the topic is just talking about man's authority in the earth. And although it has been heavily focused on the men and calling them up higher, I really have been blessed by the teaching and have been able to take a lot of things from it in terms of my dominion and authority in the earth. And it's just showed me that's another layer of stewardship that I think a lot of times gets missed and gets looked over. I know I've done it plenty of times where I'll pray for something. I'll be like, God, I want to be used in this way. I want you to use me. I want you to, I want to be your vessel. And then here comes responsibility, and maybe I chicken out, or maybe I'm looking for someone else to manage it while I handle, the glory of it all, or the, pomp and circumstance and the confetti and the lights and the glitter of it all. But really, stewardship is about getting in the mud, getting your hands dirty, but also just exercising your God-given authority. We could do a whole episode on our dominion in this earth, and maybe we will in the future, but our dominion in this earth, our authority in this earth, how we are genuinely just utilizing God's strength and power and inviting him in to work through us. So yeah, stewardship is an interesting thing. And one of the notes that I have written down here goes a little something like this. It says, some people will never have anything because they don't know how to manage anything. And I don't remember if God was talking to me and he gave me that, or how that quote came about. But some people will never have anything because they don't know how to manage anything. And, as much as, like I was talking about dominion and authority, a lot of that comes down to just being a good manager, just being a good, like you can exercise dominion and authority, but you have to be well organized. You have to take care of the things that God has given you. You can't just let it fall by the wayside and then wonder why, you're unable to manage it well or unable to lead it well. All of these principles work hand in hand. So I feel like God gives us dominion and authority to work with, but he also wants us to be organized. He wants us to be clean. He wants us to do the maintenance on what it is that he's blessed us with. And that gets missed a lot, I believe. I know it's gotten missed in my own personal life. So yeah, those are just some thoughts on what stewardship really is, what it looks like, how dominion and authority play a part, in stewarding what God has given us, but also understanding that it doesn't just stop there. Stewardship relies heavily on organization. It relies heavily on having a plan, on having systems, on discipline, waking up early, going to bed on time, taking care of your temple, setting boundaries. All of those things play a part in stewarding something well. And I believe that God is calling a lot of his sons and daughters higher in that area, as he wants to bless us with more, as he wants to increase us more, and as he wants to get more done in this earth. I believe that he is calling us higher in those areas, whatever that looks like for us, whatever role we may be in. There's just this sense that God is asking us to come up in that area. And maybe that's just for me. I don't believe it is. But I can testify that in my own life, that's something that God has been dealing with me on, just making sure that I'm stewarding things well, that I'm exercising my authority, but that I'm just doing the basics of, scheduling, planning, not being so haphazard and, sporadic, with my life, but really being intentional. There's a lot of intentionality that I believe goes into stewardship as well. So yeah, just some thoughts on that I want to leave you guys with. I don't really have any verse for today. But I encourage you this week to look up scriptures that could apply to this topic and drop them in the comments, because I would love to read up more on, what the Bible has to offer about it. I know the Bible does talk a lot about sowing and reaping and stewarding. So I would love to hear what you guys think of this topic, what you take from it, and get my whole life together, gather me up so I can, just dive deeper into God's word about, this concept of stewardship and all the things. So anyway, just a little yap sesh. Like I said, I didn't really have anything planned out too crazy, but definitely just wanted to leave you guys with those thoughts, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So thank you so much, so much again for joining me for another episode of the Ground for Glory podcast. Thank you for joining me again. I appreciate y'all. For those who are still listening, don't forget to like, comment, share, rate, subscribe, text this to a friend, send the video link, send the Spotify link, send the Apple Podcast link, because it definitely helps me to grow my audience, grow my community, grow my platform as I'm staying consistent with this thing and just looking to take it from glory to glory. I just appreciate your help in that process. So continue to share the podcast. Let me know what you think again about this being audio only, or if you guys are missing the video content as much as I am. And we'll go from there. So I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of the week. Continue to rely on Christ completely and walk in your God-given authority this week. Steward what he's giving you well. And just do what you're supposed to do. Lock in, twin. So that we can be productive citizens in this earth for his glory. I love you guys, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.